Hi, good evening. It's actually 10 p.m., but it's still good evening. So I wanted to have like a quick conversation about sitting on the fence, but I'm just going to. Hi, Toyosi. Hi, Mr. Larry. Hi, sir. How are you doing today? Hi, Shagun. Hi, Uchioma. Oh, Toyosi, you'd like to be in my video. You don't even know what this video is about. Okay, don't worry. So this is sort of like a random Instagram live, but not so random. Toyosi, I'm going to accept your request. So I wanted to talk about like a couple of things, like many different things. Oh, thank you. Many different things. But it centers around good governance. It centers around not sitting on the fence. So there's this picture I saw today, so I'm just going to share it. I guess that's the way you can share images. Oh, why did you not request? Come and be in the video now. Hi, Precious. Okay, so I want to try to share the image. Let me see if it works. Okay, all right. So I think, yeah, I think it's sharing. So I saw this quote today that says, "Hi, Mary. Hi, Ayodeji. Hi, hi." Okay, Toyosi. Hi, Precious. Hi, Andy, Lee. So, someone is requesting. Hi, Morifat. Hi, hi. How are you? Feels super weird. Let me see who's requested. Okay, I think it was requested by mistake. So I saw this quote about how like Nigerians, how we are too lethargic, too indolent, and Nigerians don't know how to rise. A cockroach could rule us. And it was just so interesting. I Precious, I Riosh. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like really, like how. And then so Pastor Sam had, oh, shared room. Okay, let me type it up. Okay, so shared room plan. What are we doing here? Okay, so it's sort of like a random conversation about social change and how to participate. And the conversation is primarily it's sort of like a really really short conversation, and you can request to join the live if you want to. And it's about how like we're too lethargic and too indolent. So I was watching Pastor Sam's live earlier with Ogbeni Dipo, and so he was sharing this story during the Instagram live of how a certain church member had put together this entrepreneurial program, and they had invited these guests from Europe. And during the program, and during that time, there was this ongoing what's the word? There was this ongoing trial of a particular public official who had stolen about I can't remember the amount. It was a lot of money. I think they said about 7 billion naira. And at that point, the person asked, like, what is wrong with everybody in Nigeria? Like, how can somebody steal so much money and like nobody's really bothered? So I just think about it and say, what can we do? So it's sort of like a question because people say like, oh, we need to change Nigeria and stuff. I know I say that too. And so this is sort of like a question. We're supposed to get people's opinion, and if you like to come on the live and like sort of give your opinion, like that's absolutely fine. Like, how do you get a place like Nigeria to change? Do you protest? Because I think that protesting doesn't really work. Like, you could go on a protest and nobody's going to listen to you. Oh, Claire, you're asking why I'm not sleeping yet. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sleeping yet. There's no sleep for the weekend, like they say. Hi, John. Hi, Nathan. Sorry. Yes. So, like, I don't think protest work. So like a couple of weeks ago, like not like 2 3 weeks ago, when why am I in the corner? Because this is like the only part of my room that is like tidy. Okay, it's not like, but yeah, like this is the best part of the room. Um, and so we're going to join the protest. So my sister was like, "If you have to go for the protest." So we're supposed to be protesting against rape and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going for this protest because number one, if I try to go for this protest, I could even get arrested and it would be for no cause. And then number two, like, what is it going to change? Like, are people just going to change their minds because they see us walking in the streets? Then the third thing is that I think that democracy only works when the government actually rates people. Like, democracy, this system only works when public officials care what you think. Like, when they don't care about what you think, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, when they don't care about what you think, why would it matter that you're protesting? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter at all. So I don't know. So that's like, in the end, most times I think like that stuff doesn't work. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to brainstorm. I'm going to ask people on Instagram Live how they think that things can really change. If we're really a group of indolent people that Like, so how do we change stuff? Is it like you just accept it or you do something different? And then I was also going to ask, how what does good governance, what does leadership look like to you? Hi, Oladipo. Like, what does leadership? Because sometimes we talk about what we don't want and we say, oh, this is what we want. But what does what do we actually want? What does that look like? Like, what does good governance, what does good leadership look like to you? Let me try to read these comments. Nigeria's problem is a tangled rope, too tangled. It might take years to untangle. Yeah, with so much patience. Yeah. Okay, now I want to remove this image, but I'm sort of like Instagram illiterate. I have no idea. Okay, I just figured it out. All right, yeah. So as I said, most times they are not even ignorant. They just don't know what should be done, and they don't want to do it. Yeah, I guess. I mean, they don't want to do anything. So what does good governance look like to you? And instead, would you like to join me and share your opinion? Because I actually sort of don't have an opinion this night. So what does good governance look like to you? And what does it really take, like, to change a place like Nigeria? Like, what kind of stuff do we do, like, to actually get stuff to change? Let me see. For me, what good governance looks like is what good leadership looks like to me first is communication. I think that the first thing that good leaders do is that good leaders communicate. Like, you talk to the people that you're leading. I think that's so important. You talk to them, you communicate to them. You want to find out what's on their mind. You want to, I just think that's the first hallmark of good leadership, communication. So the entire day, people have been all over this video of oh my god, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Jacinda Ardern, the old, like, a video where she was talking about, like, the accomplishments that government had in New Zealand. And the only thing that really fascinated me about the video was not because she was a female prime minister, but because she was communicating with the people. Yeah, you can connect to the live. Like, you can actually, like, send a request to join the live. Yeah, that's double face smiley button. Yeah. So you can, or you can comment. This is just a conversation where I actually don't have answers, sort of. And it was the fact that a leader was talking to people. Like, that's what really impressed me the most, to say that leaders communicate. Because I think that's the one thing that Nigerian leaders don't do. They don't communicate. Like, Nigerian leaders don't communicate. Nigeria needs a lot of gradual and consistent work. Yes, I totally agree. And every time, like, I always talk about how, someone said, I believe presidential candidates should be a graduate and should be passed into law, of course. But that law is going to be a long stretch, because I feel like many of the people that won the positions are probably no graduates, and so they wouldn't want something like that. Let me see. Oh my god, my light is too bright. I can't even read the comments. Try to reduce it. Okay. It's not that protests don't work. It's the rulers in Nigeria. They know that the middle class Nigerians will easily run back home when they're ignited, and the lower class can easily be bought. Of course. And I feel like everybody's scared. So, like, my dad knows, like, that I do all these Instagram lives in my room. And every now and then, you come and remind me and tell me that, hey, please don't come and post all these things on the internet. If they arrest you, you're on your own. You know that I'm just a teacher. You know, he's, like, constantly reminding me every day. And he's like, don't abuse the government. Or if you don't abuse the government, though. Don't, because so this stuff happened. So someone on my street, like, when this whole COVID-19 thing came out, like, in Osun State, so the man made a Facebook post where he was talking about how he felt like COVID-19 was a scam and the government was lying. And then the next thing was that he was arrested for 2 good weeks. Like, he was in detention for 2 good weeks. Like, nobody knew where he was. And so every time, it's like the reminder on the street that if you don't want to end up like Mr. So make sure that you don't abuse the government on. Like, my dad is awake right now. Come out, signal to me and say, keep quiet if you're actually insulting the government. It says, it's not that protests don't work here. Yeah, okay, I read that already. Yeah, it's the fact that protests are easily ignored. And even when we talk about signing petitions, I always sign the petitions. But sometimes I'm like, please, these petitions that I've signed, where are, like, all these petitions going? Like, that's the other question I have, like, most of the time. Like, oh, so, yes, I've signed the petition, but where is, like, the petition going? Yeah, we don't have freedom of speech. Yeah, it's not like you're saying you can't talk, but you sort of have to watch, because I don't like the, oh my god, this was how my mom said I should not say on live. Like, I don't like the police. Like, I've had ugly experiences with the police. So I had this horrible. Because, like, we're talking about how people should not get arrested anyhow. But I know that, like, a policeman can just come into the house and try to get me arrested. So we're talking about this incident where we were traveling and then we're stopped by policemen. And then they said we didn't have a tinted permit. And then we showed them that, oh, we have a tinted permit. But the thing with the tinted permit was that when we applied for it, they gave us like a temporary thingy, like a temporary certificate to hold on to, and they promised to send an email. And yes, it has been 5 months or 6 months, and we haven't gotten an email from them. Okay, okay, I'm getting a couple of requests, so I'll just add them one after this story. So I'm like, so I came out of the car and I told the policeman, the thing is that we applied for this thing and you have not given us, like, you said we were going to send an email and we didn't get the email. And man's like, you're arguing with me, you think you know more than me, blah, 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 blah. We're going to take it to the station. And I'm like, God, what's the meaning? And so I was like, okay, what if we don't have a tinted permit? What's the fine? He's like, oh, you want me to show you? So we get to the police station, like I'm going to a different state, like we're going somewhere else. You take us off the road, you take me to a state I've never been, you get into the car, you take us to the police station, and then you ask us to write a false statement. And we're like, we're not going to, I'm like, why should we write a false statement? Or what's even the offense? And then the next thing, the man is like, at your age, you're following man. And then it go like so, and like the stuff descends into this whole law of, oh, you must be a prostitute. Why are you traveling with a man? You are immoral. You're this. I'm like, what's this about? Like that day, I cried hellfire, and all those men, like they were just there, and so I don't. Okay, now I'm trying to accept the invitation, and I don't trust these people. So it's just the system is sort of really complicated, like really, really complicated and weird. Hi, hi.
Hello. Can you
I
hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Can you hear John? Just maybe probably write in the comments if you can hear him. I can hear you though.
Great. Okay. I can also hear you.
Okay.
Only that John is like my mother's
Oh, I
boyfriend.
keep forgetting. It's sort of shorter, like right. You say John El Nathan. Sounds long.
That's my mother's boyfriend.
Okay. So what would you rather be called?
No, that's not what I would rather be called. My name is El Nathan.
Okay, El Nathan. Okay.
Okay. So I mean it's quite an interesting subject, I think. But I think we probably chatted about this once, and I
Yeah.
always in talking about this large question, I would say it's important to go back to the roots of why we are where we are. And one of the very basic problems stems from the structure of the country as it is. And that at a time when territories, towns, and empires were clashing with each other, were struggling over supremacy, were brutally violent toward each other. And of course, as all of these were happening, there was also trade and all of that. But while this was happening, there was a truncation of what might have been some sort of organic uh, uh, movement towards perhaps something close to what might be a nation by the British. We came in and saw, the parties that were prominent, and of course supported them, and those that they didn't have need for, they conquered very brutally. And so that's why, of course, things like the Sokoto Caliphate was retained, because it served the purpose of the British. And of course, in the South, they organized, whatever, so the Native Authority, and all the other things that the British did. And of course, when they left, what they left is not like when they left, everything went back to normal and, our relationships resumed. No, they left a power dynamic, which is they had established and reinforced the brutality of central power. And they left that in the hands of these three entities: the South, the North, or rather the West, the East, and the North. you know, and that's how we had this independence and all of that. Those three, as far as I'm concerned, horrible human beings who started Nigeria. They call them our founding fathers. I call
So
them.
why do you think they're horrible? Like, I mean, I've always been like, oh my God, these guys are like,
They are our founding demons. They're not our founding
why?
fathers.
Why?
Because all they did was carry on the legacy, this horrible legacy of the British, without interrogating their space and in history and what it meant to be where they were at that time. And so, of course, all of them sought, with the exception of maybe one of them, sought to reinforce a regional supremacy and all that. Of course, eventually civil war happened. And the reason why I tell this very weird story is that we must understand that we will never be able to get where we are until we understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
And everybody came into this contraption called Nigeria to consolidate upon what they already had. And so, of course, our man in the north, he was not interested in like how Nigeria was going to be great. No, he was interested in consolidating power for the north. And that's why he didn't go to the center. He didn't go to Lagos. He went back to Kaduna, and he sat in Kaduna controlling things while Tafawa Balewa was prime minister. Because, you know, he didn't believe in this project. And so, of course, everybody that came after those people, all of them, people that succeeded Azikiwe, people that succeeded Ahmad Bello, people that succeeded all these people through the civil war after, they were all either people who were gunning for their region or just opportunistic thieves.
Right.
And so, of course, what happened was in the 70s after oil, and then the 80s, when these band of generals who really didn't suffer to do anything, just so, well, you know, we get all this money, we had and you know, those of us who were born in the early 80s and all of that, we saw, you know, you saw that what happened was people now saw, well, you know, we have to survive. Government isn't working, so we'll survive. And that was what birthed things like advance fee fraud, 419, and all of that. Because the government was just military rulers, their cronies, their girlfriends, and the boyfriends of their girlfriends. You know?
You just
Of course.
started that part.
And so, yeah, of course. And so those who were cut off decided, okay, how can we do this? Then there was drugs. You know, of course, we weren't a drug-using nation, but we were a drug transit nation. Because, of course, at the time, the US had stopped direct movement of drugs from South America to North America. And so the South Americans started using West Africa as a route for drugs. And Nigeria became a central place where if you wanted to move drugs to the US, you moved it through West Africa and through Nigeria in particular because it was easy. So, of course, what happened? People just decided, well, you know, and of course, a lot of these people that were involved in these drugs and blah, blah, they eventually became our legislators. They eventually became our senators. They became our governors. They became power brokers on the one hand. The others were those who inherited power all the time, you know, all the way from independence and all of that, you know? And so from the north, we had people who inherited power through the military and through their relatives. For the south, we had people who hustled their way into power. So what happens? Of course, we have what we have now. It would take a dismantling of what exists currently to be able to get to that point where we're able to hold leaders accountable. We're a hustler nation.
So what if that doesn't
what
happen?
Needs to happen? Well, then, you know, we just
continue,
you know,
this way.
just go and sell our market, and then we're okay. I've hogged this.
But it seems like we're good at winging
too
it.
long, and I need to run off. What?
And I think we seem to be good at winging it, because I think the Nigerians are good at winging stuff. Like one of the first thing I learned about being Nigerians, I feel like Nigerians are good with suffering. We just always find a way to cope, you know.
Yeah,
Somehow, like people just find a way to, I don't know, make the best of whichever chaos is on the ground.
that's the problem. People always assume that Nigerians are resilient. And I always say that which you see and call resilience is in fact a certain cowardice. It's a certain retreat into a comfort zone, which allows you to negotiate with the power structures and capitulate for the purposes of getting ahead in life. And this is essentially it's the Nigerian spirit, it's the Nigerian hustle that says, you know what, I can't beat the system, but I'm going to find somebody that can do it for me.
Exactly. Like, how do I win with the system? Like, how do I win?
Simple. Yeah.
Because it's just like, I think about, like, at this point, I think about ASU strikes, right? So ASU is constantly going on all these strikes to get salary increments. And I'm like, you just realize that this is how the system works. So I just keep milking it. If I find that one way to tilt this thing, like, I'll just keep doing it over and over and over again. Because just find a way. Like, it's just sort of like the Nigerian thing. But I'm really hoping that would change. Because, like, it gets worse every day.
Oh, wait, am I on video?
No, just your fingers. Your fingers on
Oh my
video.
goodness, I just put my fingers and I can see my fingers.
Yeah, just your
Bloody hell.
fingers.
Oh,
No. You're not
oh,
on
we could
video.
actually have been doing face to face.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was that kind of call in and you would just see me.
Mm.
Oh, bloody hell. Anyway, it's good. I've not done my makeup anyway, so it's fine.
Oh my God. You don't need makeup.
Yeah, no, but it's sad. I think that the problem is, one of the problems we have now is that people attempt to do a sector by sector approach where they say, oh, let's fix the police, or oh, let's fix the agricultural sector, or let's fix, and all of that is really bullshit because none of it will work. Somebody's a contractor, their uncle has fixed them up with some contract. So they have hammered and they have a house on the island, or they have a house in Abuja. Then they're saying, oh, the police is not working, justice for blah, 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 hashtag this. I'm like, you know what? That hammer where you hammer, it took money out of somebody's pocket. It took money out of a department's pocket.
Yeah.
It made sure that somebody was not able to pay salaries, somebody was not able to buy vehicles, somebody was not able to,
Yeah.
And if you ask me what we should do, I think it's very difficult. However, first steps that we must find a path to critical mass engagement. The first step to that is mass education. And we say that we have to find a way of educating all of these boys in the streets, these 9 million Almajiri that are in the north, educate them. Then perhaps we can find a large number of people who are able to read, write, and engage with society that say, look, and then of course there's the migration into some sort of quasi-middle class. When people are unable to get their comforts, do you see how people screamed at DSTV? It's not, it's not poor people who are going to, poor people are too busy looking for what to eat.
Yeah.
The people who will actually, is people who feel their privilege impinged upon. Those are the guys who are going to, or the people who are going to say, yeah, no, it's enough.
Yeah.
And people like me and you, we say, look, I'm able to, we went to law school, we did all of that. However, I refuse, because you know what? Between me and you, there's only 2-3 degrees of separation to people in power. 2-3. I'm telling you, if you wanted to meet a senator,
one lives on my street.
It's just 2-3 degrees of separation. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is we are all like, there's a culture of respectability. Or if I say this, that person, as a writer, I'd be like, hey, this person organizes this festival, and there's only 1 or 2 festivals in Nigeria. If I offend this man or this woman, hey, they're not going to invite me to.
You're going to be cancelled.
I'm going to be, this guy is the only big music boss. So we need people who say, you know what, there are enough middle class people to say, hey, no, no. But now we're comfortable. We need a big cataclysmic event that will shatter our illusions about whether or not we have a nation. And then perhaps people will begin to say, okay, my goodness, my children are not going to go to school. We need that because Nigerians are too comfortable. Even as bad as things are, they're too comfortable. Can you hear me?
Network went off for a bit. Okay. Finally got this thing to say. Yeah.
Hey,
so
feel free to bump me off this call. Yeah, I feel like I've like spent too much time here.
Would have been good to see your face though, without your makeup.
You know what? Honestly, I didn't do this deliberately. I honestly did not know because I've joined one call before, and it just showed me as an audio thing.
Oh no. I don't even know how to do just audio. I think it just seems like you're in a dark room.
Fucking hell. Sorry. Anyway, next time maybe.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let me see.
I promise next time you do this and I jump on it, I will do my makeup and show up.
Okay, sure. All right. So thank you for
Take care. Thank you for letting me bump into your space.
No, it's actually awesome. I'm going to go to bed smiling tonight. Be assured. All right.
Have a lovely night, Ifa. Ciao.
Okay, so sort of summarily, if you just joined the conversation, I was talking about how to, how do we really get change to happen in Nigeria? We complain a lot about how, we don't like what's going on and we want things to be different. So how, and I think basically John's explanation was, first of all, the first thing is, how did this country start? How did this country come to be? And he talked about knowing history because if you don't know what happened in the past, you cannot even understand the present or understand where we're going. And I think that history is one subject that is not taught a lot. So you won't learn many things about Nigeria unless you go online, unless you really Google it. And the truth is that not even everything on Google is reputable. Because it's on Google doesn't make it necessarily true, or although it's sort of true, but does not mean that that's 100% the fact. So I don't like a culture of mythology. I think that that's one of the major things that has held us back in Nigeria, has held us back in Africa. So on a previous live video, I talked about how when I was 15, maybe or 14, I remember I was in SS1 and I was just so confused about why Africa was backward. I could not make sense of it. Maybe one of these days I'll climb up the wardrobe and dust off the journal. So I set up an entire term in school. Every break time I'll write about the black man and the white man because I just could not figure it out. But one of the few answers I found is mythology. We wrap everything up in mythology. I felt like one of the things that gave the Europeans the edge was the fact that they had a curiosity. They wanted to see the rest of the world. They wanted to explore the rest of the world. They just always wanted to know. But we constantly wrapped up everything in mythology. So, for example, you can't cross a river because the river is too deep. Later, you say evil spirit or there's a goddess that lives in that river, and you sort of have to appease her. Instead of actually thinking about how to build a bridge. And so, when you wrap things up in so much mythology, it sort of loses its essence. I think about a place like Idore Hills, and so they have a very interesting, amazing story that you don't find out unless you sort of Google it. And I'm instead of wrapping all these things up in mythology, why not publish the stories? Why not tell the story? Why not find out? Don't make things sort of a myth that you can't touch. And when you think about myth, in the concept of present day stuff, mythology, in the sense of how we just don't explore things. We just leave things as face value. Oh, this is the way this thing is. This is the way it is. And so let's just sort of accept it. Continuing that culture of, I wanted to say mythifying everything, but that's probably not correct English. So that's sort of the conversation. Let me see what else I wrote. Yeah, so the other thing was that I was going to talk a bit like from like a faith-based sort of perspective. And so for me, like being like someone that's like really, really active in church, at some point I feel like a bad person because I feel like everybody God was telling people stuff about like spiritual stuff. And every time I sort of read the Bible, like I always saw like political stuff. And that was what I was always inclined to be. And I realized that even coming from a perspective of faith, when we talk about social change, um, I think about the stories of people like Joseph, and at that point, how what they needed to be was not what he needed to be for people in his generation, people that were in captivity in his generation, was not a spiritual leader, but a political leader. And he had to have like the skills, the wisdom, the training, and all of that to become a political leader. And even when you think about someone like Jacob and many of those stories, what I see is that at at many points, what their generation needed was a political leader. And so it's not an anti faith stuff to say, you know what, I'm agitating for social change. I want things to change. And I don't want to accept things at face value. Like, I just don't want to accept things like the way they are. Like, I want to ask questions and I also want to participate. And like that was what I was thinking about. Like when like stuff happen, there's just always this group of people that they just keep quiet. Like they never have anything to say. I like Instagram, but Instagram is weird. Like it's easier to express myself on Twitter than to express myself on Instagram because Instagram is a place where you sort of have to smile, be perfect. I don't know how to explain it. Even if the world is on fire, but then I think that we need to talk, not sitting on the fence or ignoring a social issue. I think that if there are social issues, we need to talk about them. Like you need to like drop your opinion. Don't just sit on the fence and act like it doesn't matter because if it doesn't affect you today, like at some point in the future, like the matter is probably going to affect you. So I think it's important to lend your voice. When people say, "How can I participate? What can I do?" I always think the first thing is like say something. Like there's always something you can say. So say something. Like talk, tweet, write something, write comment, talk to people in your community, like talk to people in your WhatsApp groups. Like that's very important. Remember, like for the past, like there was this particular week, I was having like 3 hours. Like I had like this old 3 hour WhatsApp fight. It was really really long, like this like 3 hour WhatsApp fight, and I was exhausted because everything I said, like they were not even listening. But I think it's important to engage people in these conversations, and sometimes for the sake of posterity, to know that I said it, like that I said it. Like I'm not just going to. You guys are not going to be yarning nonsense, and you guys are not going to act somehow, and I'm not going to say anything about it because that's I feel like ignoring people sort of gives them some sort of credibility, like what you're doing is okay or what you think is okay. I feel like the world is at such a pivotal point and nothing is going to change if a lot of people decide to sit on the fence when something happens. Lend your voice. I think that's pretty much most of what I wrote down, and so this is where I'm supposed to say good night. Yes, seriously, sitting on the fence is wrong. My God, I can't pronounce this. Shefe Olua. Okay, Shefe Olua. Hi, hi, hi. Thanks for joining me. So, good night to you. Say good night to me back. So, I won't feel like I'm talking to myself because now I just feel like a crazy lady. Since I walk out of my room, I'm talking to myself. Say good night to me. So, say good night to me. I will end this life. So, I just wanted to sort of put that out there. So, good night. I'm just waiting for one person to type good night, and I'm actually going to go to bed. Hi. Oh, Theo said good night. Ah, yeah. Thank you. Sam says good night. So maybe one more. Then we'll call it a day. Hi, DK. Thank you. Okay. So good night. Have a beautiful night. Okay. Bye, everyone.